Three, two, one. You ready? You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, days, and gays. This is the Real Pineapple. This is your humble host, Hunter, here. Hope you're having a great day, night, weekend, whenever you're checking this out. I am very privileged and very honored and very happy to have writer, director, Renaissance woman.
Oh, thank you.
I'll throw that label on as well. I've got Erin C. Buckley here. Erin, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm really good. Again, I know we talked a little off mic, but thank you so much for making the time. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Talk to me real quick. I mean, this will only be audio, so I guess it's just for us, but I love the space behind you, like as far as how you have like everything decorated.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I live in like a brownstone in Brooklyn, so there's like a brick wall behind me, and I've got the Obama portraits, and there's this really great artist out of Chicago who did the James Baldwin and the Toni Morrison pieces.
Yeah.
And then I just have some shots from some of the projects that I've done from this film and from my web series and from a couple of my plays. So yeah.
So I actually want to start with your web series. So I got I got 3 episodes into Platonic, and
oh, cool.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't like the comparison to Girls at all, to be honest. I really think this is its own unique thing.
Thank you.
And I have my own issues with Girls, which I won't get into, but what I love about that first episode in particular is how do I put this? It takes a lot to make me uncomfortable. And I was so wonderfully uncomfortable watching episode 1 because that's such a incredibly real conversation. And you just go, oh, you caught feelings, but oh no, I told you how I felt, but you weren't. So I guess my first question just out the gate is, what part of where's that line for you as far as drawing from your own personal experiences and putting that, because that's got to get messy at points, especially doing something like this. And
totally.
Yeah.
No, completely. Well, I'm in a long-term relationship with my partner Heather, and we actually just eloped over the summer. So that piece is thank you. That piece is definitely from a period of my life before I met Heather. That is for sure, in terms of the relationship piece of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like I remember when I was living out in LA and I moved back to New York, and there was this person I was seeing, and it was like just so confusing because it was obviously there was chemistry, but she was otherwise involved. But you know, it was so confusing and weird. So that episode definitely comes out of like something real for sure. I feel like all of my writing comes out of like a little bit of something real and a little bit of something kind of made up, you know, like an imagined scenario, but some sort of emotional truth, I guess.
Yeah. Like do you find writing from that perspective like therapeutic to kind of work through some
I don't even know. You know, I have a good therapist, so I don't really feel like I need it for the therapeutic reasons. But I feel like that's a lot of what I'm interested in writing is like, you know, that sort of sticky space in relationships where things are confusing, where there's gray area. That really interests me. I mean, not only in terms of romantic relationships, but also like the weird boundaries of friendships, which I think is a lot of what that piece Platonic is about, you know? Just sort of exploring like when are our like friendships actually more emotionally intimate or even physically intimate than our romantic relationships, and sort of what are those boundaries? Where are there no boundaries?
So I appreciate you bring that up because during lockdown, I'm not a huge reader because it stresses me out. But I started reading a little more. And to your point, I read this one book and I'm completely blanking on it, but I remember one of the terms being brought up was that, to your point, the whole when do platonic relationships maybe get more messy and more complicated than what you initially set it out to be.
Yeah.
And then having that internal conversation with yourself and going, oh crap, what like where are we kind of heading here?
Yeah.
With the whole web series, about this, is that something that you're seeking to answer, or is that just something you're seeking to present so that it's common knowledge?
Yeah, I mean, I don't ever feel like I'm trying to present some sort of thesis. So I feel like because I don't know what the thesis would be, honestly. But we're
Fair.
like, I don't have a thesis. So I think, but I feel like I'm just trying to explore. I think it was based on my experience. I mean, the primary relationship in that piece is based on my friendship with my friend Ryan, who I leave daily voicemails for. We've recently changed to like WhatsApp messages because the voicemails
Nice.
were failing us. Like we're having technical difficulties. No, but like, yeah, and I mean, so I guess I'm just interested in exploring it all. I don't really think I'm interested in any hard and fast answers because I think in life, like as soon as you feel like you have an answer, the rules change, right? Like
Fair.
everything, like it doesn't stay static for long enough to feel like you've arrived at a clear, point of view, maybe.
No, I think that's a completely fair comparison. I think things are always evolving, and it's just like
Yeah.
the sooner you try to define something, I feel like that's when it gets messier, and then you're kind of like, crap, I'm
Yeah.
right back where I fucking started. So I do want to ask because myself, I grew up in a very musician based,
Cool.
artsy household, and
Cool.
I kind of really just kind of fell into the podcast thing because I would hear so many people do bad podcasts, and I was kind of like, oh, I could do this. I think I could do it. It's fine. So was there a pressure from you? Because I was reading up a little bit on you, but I didn't want to read too much. Growing up, how you grew up, was there that pressure to get in the film, or did this kind of naturally, like, you kind of naturally fall into it, or?
No, I mean, I have family members in the arts, but my mom's an actor, and she was like, anything else you can do, go for it. Like,
Don't do this.
it was kind of the opposite of pressure. I just sort of like was compelled and kind of couldn't stay away. But no, my mom was like, anything else you're interested in pursuing, like, go forth. And I went through the whole like kind of academic thing. Like I feel like I was like trying to avoid as much as I could until finally it was like gave myself over and went to grad school for acting and all that stuff. But yeah,
Do you
no
remember?
pressure.
Do you remember a point? Like, do you remember the point or a couple points where you went, "This is it. Like, I need to be doing this."
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there was a moment for me in college where I was like, I was actually declared in public policy at Stanford for a while, and then I was like, yeah, I want to be like doing theater. I just remember really clearly there was like one term where I just sort of like pivoted. And so I remember that being like a flexion point, and then applying to grad school and getting called back and then getting in was just like a total game changer for me and sort of the trajectory of my life, I feel like. And then I think once I was out of school and had been like doing little parts on TV shows and like doing voiceovers and developing new plays, and I was like, I had just come back from doing a play overseas, and I was like, I really think I want to be having a more generative role in the making of stuff. And that's when I started writing and directing stuff. I was working daytime, like in a producing job at HBO, or assisting a producer at HBO documentary films. And then I started writing stuff, and I started immediately directing the stuff that I was writing. And I was like, oh yeah, this is what I want to be doing, because it allowed me to work with actors who I'm so inspired by great acting and great actors. And so it allowed me to sort of be in the room working with people who I'd kind of always wanted to be able to do that work with.
Yeah.
And sort of co-create with them. I was like, oh, this is where it's at for me. Yeah.
Okay. So one thing, I do gotta get a little controversial here because for me, I feel like people of color / LGBTQ community, there's very much a Venn diagram with us as far as how we're represented. I have gone off at multiple points about how for every Boys Don't Cry, I'll recommend something like Yes, God, Yes, but I'm a cheerleader. It's like, hey, there are gay stories that are fun. It doesn't always have to be about,
absolutely
the struggle, and just have this, which, I know that wins awards, but that's a whole other conversation in itself. As a member of that community, how do you go about presenting stories that are just human? Because what I really love about CC Dances a Go-Go is that it's just a story. Like, it's not about just like the you know, I mean, because there's that point where it feels less earnest. It's more about just this is kind of the standard versus, you know, people can just be people. And I honestly was watching this and I was so happy that it was just that and it didn't need to be. So like, do you feel like, where is that line coming from you as far as how you're presenting your stuff and presenting things to the community?
Yeah, totally. No, I appreciate that. First of all, I'm just so glad you brought up But I'm a Cheerleader, because that would be my all-time favorite film. So
I saw that when I was
shout out to
10,
Jamie Babbitt.
Yeah, I loved that movie.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, you saw it when you were 10. I saw it when it came out when I was in high school. So there just goes our age difference. But that's amazing. I love that you watched it when you were 10.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think about how to answer that. I mean, I guess I actually think you said it really well. Like, it's just, you know, about like presenting stories and it almost kind of being like background information that the person is like queer or whatever, right? Like whatever the given circumstances of that person's identity happen to be. I mean, it's important, obviously, because it's definitely a driving factor of this film, right? She goes to a gay bar. She's looking for connection. I do think her being like a gay woman and sort of, she does have a degree of isolation, I think, because she's still sort of getting comfortable connecting with other people, I guess. But I guess I'm interested in it more kind of becoming more about the particulars of that character's life, maybe? I don't know. It's a really good question you're asking. At the same time, from like a macro point of view, I am intentionally creating space. I want there to be stories about LGBTQ people and people of color and women and, you know, women over a certain age, you know, like all those things are things that I'm thinking about when I'm creating. So I guess it would be disingenuous to say those aren't on my mind. But then I guess once I'm creating something, I'm just like, all right, let's go with this person's, you know, specifics and who is this person? And in a way, like we jump past the specifics of the identity and we're on to just more stuff of, you know, how they're living.
Yeah, I really love the fact that there's this point where Nikki, and I felt, man, my heart just broke in the best way for Nikki because that whole internal dialogue of, oh, are they checking me out? Oh, are they not? Oh God, am I like worthy of this person even looking at me? Like that whole way that we all, I think, beat ourselves up, especially in the bar scene, which is its own animal itself.
Totally.
You captured that perfectly.
Thank you.
As far as Cece herself, though, I really love the way that she has this very natural progression as far as going like, yeah, I used to be more attracted to guys, but now, like, I felt like that was the one. I don't even want to say like force, but I feel like that was very intentional in that moment to just. But it never came across like it never came across cheesy. It just came across like a very natural, like, oh, like, okay, like in this moment, this is so like, was that one of those moments that you kind of just want to put in there to go like, yeah, this is okay? Because I feel like the fluidity in that moment is something is just so well stated for like what you're presenting.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this the other day. I feel like her relationship with her sexuality is less fraught, right? So like whatever it is, you know, she used to sort of be into guys and then sort of more clearly identifies as being gay. Now I think she's just not so uncomfortable with herself, I think. And I think that's sort of like the journey that the other character, Nikki, is on in the film, is like to gain some level of ease with self, maybe, you know, whereas Cece, you know, is so because she's a dancer and just because of who she is, she's so much more in her body and so much more comfortable with who she is from the jump. And I think that like Nikki's progression through the film is to sort of release the inner monologue. I mean, which is sort of technically, I guess, what happens in the film is that she goes from just like talking to camera to like releasing that or over the arc of the film. So yeah, it was important to me that the two characters sort of juxtapose each other in that regard. And you know, we went through various moments in the edit of like, does it make sense to jump to direct address from Cece? Like dramaturgically, does that make sense that we hear from her as well as hearing from Nikki if we're really like taking Nikki's point of view throughout the film? But yeah, it was important to me that we kind of get to hear from her as well, that it was a different space that she was in, that it was defined differently, that she was like out of her wig, you know, that was important to me ultimately, that be in the piece as well.
Yeah. Two more questions. I'll let you get out of here. I love your use of lighting and everything. Like it has this very
Thank you.
documentary, almost like hazy sort of feel to it, like almost like a very intentional acid trip. Like I loved your use of colors. Like
Thank
it's
you.
like it's something that stood out to me in the web series, and then it's also something that I immediately noticed as far as when I saw Cece dancing, just the way you use that. Is there a director or is there something that inspires that almost art house kind of trippy style that you use, or?
That's a really great question. I worked with two different DPs, each of whom was incredibly talented. This piece I worked with Chance Faulkner on, and then on the web series I worked with Adam Golfer. And their styles are so different, but I'm just completely obsessed with both of them. I think they're so incredibly talented. And then sort of a creative through line for the piece was I worked with the same editor for both pieces, Summer Spyro. She cut
Okay.
both. Yeah. So that I think you see like the use of music. We're both really obsessed with music, and her cutting style is just so distinctive and terrific. And also my producing partner Rowena worked on both projects with me, so they were sort of up, and my costume designer Christina Bullard. So there were some sort of consistent collaborators, but in terms of the use of lighting and stuff, I really have to credit my incredible DPs. And Chance had a really great team from his Dog Days Productions squad, just an incredible team of guys gaffing and stuff. They just really did a great job, and that was a much sort of more designed lighting experience, right? And Chance was
Yeah.
so involved in like, he was like, what do you think about these colors? And, he was just an amazing collaborator on that. And then on the other piece, it was a really pared down crew of people. It was Adam, and he had one gaffer who was incredible, but like it was a really pared down team because we were shooting that piece in New York in these really small apartments. Like one day we shot in like a studio apartment where literally we couldn't fit our whole crew in there. So it was like, hello, thank you for doing makeup. See you later. Like we'll see you on the street later. But yeah, so it was like completely different production experiences, but really dedicated DPs. I mean, they just did an extraordinary job. Yeah, and I think for me, I'm glad you said the thing about like the documentary style and the sort of, particularly I think for Platonic, that sense of sort of fly on the wall thing was really important to me, that it feel like you're just sort of observing these people and that it not
Yeah.
feel, very stagey or whatever. Whereas with Cece, it's very intentionally theatrical at certain points, and the direct address is very intentional. But yeah, anyway, both completely terrific collaborators.
Last question I've got for you. I mean, you've got a range of stuff that you've done in your career. As far as what's next, like is there something like top of the bucket your list? You're like, I want to get here. Like as far as a project.
Yeah, I'm working on a new piece called Starfucker, and it's I'm working on a script right now. It's a feature film, and yeah, that's kind of what's in the works for me right now. And then yeah, I mean, I would love to be directing for TV. It's really hard to jump into that without having done like a feature, but yeah, I mean, that's what I would absolutely love to be doing.
Okay. As far outside the feature film, like, can we expect any more? Like, can we expect anything in between then that you're working on? Or
It's so funny that you asked that, because I was just talking to my partner today, and I was like, I think I need to do some sort of like indie, sort of like very like smaller, more manageable project over the next few months. We just had a baby a few months ago, so I'm
oh my
like
gosh,
also like a new mom.
congratulations!
Thank you so much. But like we're in this huge transition period, and my daughter will be like 5 months in a couple weeks. I can't believe it. So I'm also in that sort of like liminal period of like becoming a new parent,
Yeah.
which has been sort of so immersive and so wonderful. So I feel like over the summer and, at the latest in the fall, I just like to shoot like some smaller projects. Now, I don't know if that'll take the form of like another web series or a short or something, but to your point, I was just talking to my partner today about like, just like planning to shoot something smaller and more doable.
Yeah.
Before, because I really want to shoot a feature next, but I think like in the short term, I want to do some sort of more short form thing. So thanks for asking.
No, I like I said, I watched both. Like I watched your stuff, and I was like, man, I'm really just loving the way you direct. So whatever
Oh,
next
thank you
project you
so
have,
much.
like I will be watching for sure.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Aaron. No, Aaron, thank you so much for making the time. Before we get out of here, can you tell the people where they can find you, where they can watch the film?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So my short film is at ccdancesthegogo.com. And you can also find it at youtube.com/at ccdancesthegogo. And my series is at youtube.com/at Platonic series. And I'm on Instagram at Erin_C_Buckley. Those are long things to say. I mean, I'm realizing as I'm saying them to you, like those are actually like really long. Probably easier to have said my website for Platonic is just platonicseries.com. That would have been easier. I mean, why didn't I go there first?
I'm happy you took the scenic route.
I mean, you have all the options now.
Right. I will definitely be tagging you on this when I get this up here early next week. Perfect month to put this up too. But Erin, thank you so much again for taking the time. Hope we can do this again, and take care of yourself, take care of the family, and thanks again.
Thanks, Hunter. Have a good one.
You as well.